Well, here we are. Week 9, hometown dates. Seems like only yesterday we were playing sports without any undies. But here we go. We'll jump right into it. First hometown is Peter. First of all, I love seeing the guys in charge on the dates. It's a nice change from Hannah always calling the shots, you know? It's a different dynamic. So Peter brings Hannah over to his wicked nice car. And I'm like, how do you even afford this? And I'm like, oh yeah, he's a pilot. But do pilots make a lot of money? I mean, I guess they should, but. So they're riding in the car and Hannah starts snooping in like all of his little crevices real hard. That's exactly what I do. The only problem is once you start snooping, you can't stop. Cars, drawers, phones. But then she finds a rubber. And Peter's face got so red. That really is so embarrassing. And how long has it been in there? So then they get to their plane ride and Peter's a cool pilot. I like him. They fly over the mansion, which was cool, which made me realize, I guess he lives in California. I think I missed it in the beginning. And then they land the plane and it was the smoothest landing I've ever seen in my life. And I can't believe that they didn't have some cliche catchphrase or pun about how their love is going to have a smooth landing or something. But then I start to notice they kiss after every little change of pace. Like, let's walk over this way. Okay, kiss. Hey, are you ready to go here now? Okay, let's kiss. We're about to get into this car together, both of us, but better kiss first. I think The Bachelor should calculate the amount of time throughout the whole season that she spends just kissing the guys and add it all up, total it, and then reveal it like in the bloopers section of Men Tell All. I think that should be a new thing. So anyway, then comes the family visit, and this is always the best part of the show. You get all these different personalities and tension and just weirdness. Families are weird, and it's awesome. First thing I notice is Peter's little brother, Jack, and I'm like, why isn't this kid on the show? And then I realize he's probably 15 years old and had the lead role in Peter Pan or something. And I feel like a pedophile. But Hannah is great with the family visits. She's super outgoing and talkative, and she shows no signs of being shy whatsoever. Even like she's talking, you don't see any nervousness, like her hands aren't shaking. How does she do that? So then they sit down for dinner, and they have like their Cuban grace, which was sweet. I wish we did that. But then Peter starts crying, and he is now officially Ben H. So, you know, they're all doing their little conversations, you know, all around. And one thing that I really take notice of is they keep mentioning Peter's past relationship and basically how much of an impact it had on him. And I've said this before, but why did he only like just graze the surface when we were trying to find out what happened? They're still not talking about it. Like, why was it so awful? Maybe it just really hurt him emotionally, but if that's the case, just can you tell us? Either way, it was clearly a big deal. And his dad starts crying, his mom starts crying, everyone's crying except for Jack. So either this breakup is like a really, really big deal and nobody's telling us about it, or the family is extremely emotional, which is fine. So we may just never find out about the breakup, but I really liked his family. I thought that they were great, and I think probably Hannah felt the same way. They would be good in-laws. So then we get to Tyler's hometown, and you all know I love Tyler, along with the rest of the country now, but that's okay. So Tyler is from Florida and grew up right on the water. And how are all of these guys just living such cool lives? If I were on the show, I'd be like, hey, I'm from this tiny little hometown. We've got a high school and some trees. But then they take a boat ride, which was cool. That is like Hannah saying, you know, this would be my life with Tyler, which, yeah, that is pretty awesome. Every time you go visit his family, you get to just go out on the water. I would like that too. And then I hear Tyler say that he's better at driving a boat than he is at getting divorced. That's not what he said. Riding a horse. Riding a horse, Nicki. Then he takes her like dancing somewhere. I wasn't totally sure what was going on, but it was cool. I really do like Tyler. He's very charming, and I can see where Hannah originally had that feeling of him being a player because he's got player qualities. He dances well, a go-getter and flirtatious. He's got that smile, you know, but I don't think he is a player. My initial thought would be that he is, but as we've gotten to know him, I think he's just a good down-to-earth guy. So she kind of gets the best of both worlds there. And then we get to Tyler's family. First of all, loved Hannah's outfit. She had those white pants with the black floral shirt. Loved it. Unfortunately, I think I need to give up on the short pants because Tyler's clearly never going to stop wearing them. But then he made up for it with that hug he had with his dad. That was so cute. You can tell they have a really great relationship. But anyway, they're all talking in the living room, and it seems just very natural, easygoing conversation. And his dad comes out and says how his initial thought when he got on the show was, please don't let Tyler get cut on the first day. And it made me think of Chasen and every other guy that gets cut on the first night. That is kind of embarrassing. It's saying that, like, she had really no interest in you. Oh, why Chasen? I'm still mad about it. So I was also examining Tyler's parents during that conversation, and I can't tell who he looks like. He doesn't really even look like his brothers, like a tiny bit. I mean, I guess not all siblings look alike. But I couldn't find the traits anywhere. It's just random side note. My favorite part about this whole date was finding out how Tyler just stepped up for the whole family when his dad got sick. I feel like that says a lot about him. And maybe he was a player before his dad got sick, and it just put everything into perspective. You never know. But either way, I thought it was really a stand-up thing to do, and it brought him back up a couple steps from the steps he took down last week. But then the date ends, and Hannah is straddling Tyler in the back of the van with the door wide open. Are the parents watching? Are the little brothers watching? Do we need to get Peter's condom? But seriously, Tyler's family is awesome. Peter's family is awesome. I don't know how Hannah's going to choose. And now, Luke's date. Luke is from Georgia, and specifically Gainesville, Georgia, which I thought was appropriate based on Luke's physique. I can imagine him using it as like a phrase when he goes to the gym. You know, like, welcome to Gainesville, gentlemen. So Hannah starts it off by saying that Luke was the first one to tell her that he was falling in love with her, which, like, obviously he said it on the second week. And then they go to Sunday school, which is cool. I think it was just like kind of a peer group, men's group, women's group, everybody group thing. And it looked like there was a bunch of beer on the table. I'm still not sure if it was beer or if it was maple syrup. But Luke gets up there in front of everybody and gives his speech. And the speech is the same exact story that he told Hannah of, like, how he came to find his faith. And first, I find this a little peculiar because he's around, like, all of his peers that share in his faith. And I can't understand why he hasn't already told them this story. Like, shouldn't they already know about it, maybe? Again, I don't want to minimize his story. I just thought it was just weird that he was telling it again. It seemed like, I don't know, just never mind. But then, I think it was very telling the way that his friends were speaking of him. And I know a lot of you guys hate on me for supporting Luke, but here's a little bit of proof. I mean, how can every single person in that room say that he's a great guy and speak, like, really highly of him? Not like, oh, we love Luke, you know, he's cool. No, they talk about why he's a great guy and how he has such a big heart and how he's passionate. That he is. There's something there in him, I'm telling you. He just has some serious trouble with his emotional expression. But then even we get to family time and they affirm all of the same things. Look at his little grandma. She was so cute. There's no way that woman would raise a turd. So Hannah comes out with the boldness again and just blatantly tells everybody that Luke screwed up a bunch of times and she wasn't always on his side. And I give her a lot of credit for being herself, being true to her beliefs this whole season. She has not wavered from that. So, like I have sort of mentioned, the guys obviously hate Luke, but I wouldn't be surprised if the producers were strategic in the scenes that they showed us of Luke. You know, there might have been some good stuff that we didn't get to see because they wanted this episode to be a big shocker, and we might like feel a little bit for Luke, and then they hit us with next season. I mean next week when he screws up again. That, I don't know if I can defend that one. But just one little side note, I have a lot of side notes. During Luke's conversation with his mom, I just could not stop staring at her. I feel like she's just so pretty in such a soft way, and she's very sweet, and I'm looking at her thinking she should be like a fairy, and like the queen of all the fairies. And I'm a little bit weird if you haven't already figured that out. But I thought it was cool, though, at the end of the date when Luke is sitting there with Hannah and he just came out and apologized for everything that he's put her through. I don't think he's done that yet. And if he's tried to, there was always like an excuse that came after it. And it's probably because he's finally surrounded by people that support him and love him, and there's not the toxicity of the guys back at the house. I think that kind of environment really does bring out good in people. And then he tells her he loves her. And behind the scenes, Hannah admits that she loves him too. She tried to take it back, but it was too late. She said, I've fallen in love with Luke. And she can't deny it. And we all knew it already, but now it's official. And clearly Luke's family is awesome too. So she's got 3 awesome families, which means Jed's family needs to screw up. And they delivered. So Jed's hometown. Jed's from Tennessee, which figures because of the country music singing. And before the day even started, I was anticipating we're going to get some more music. And Hannah says, oh, Jed's always got surprises for me. Ooh, what's Jed got in his pocket today? Oh, I bet it's more music. And then where do they end up? Oh, at the recording studio. I can't be overly upset because he obviously loves music and really lives it. But at this point, my mind is tainted. Jed, you never should have told me you came on here for the publicity. It just like, I can't take it back now. It's your fault. And we all know Jed is not my favorite. And this whole date, I really, really wanted it to go poorly, but it did not. It was a great date. He showed his songwriting talents in a good way, which he is. He's talented. And they were singing together, and Hannah being all shy and barely even letting any sound come out of her voice. And then he tells her that he loves her, and if he didn't tell her, his heart was gonna burst. It was really cute. I can't even deny it. So now I'm like really hoping for some family drama so that it can negate everything that just happened, because I don't want to like Jed. So they get to his family's house. And my initial thought is, how is this ex-girlfriend going to be addressed? Are his parents going to come out and say like, hey, what about Shirley or whatever her name is? Are they going to say it? Or is Jed going to come and be like, listen, guys, I know I said I was coming on for my music, but I like this girl and I think I got to dump the other one. Also, 4th side note, Jed's dad says Hannah is a hoot. A hoot. We need to bring that word back into everybody's regular vocabulary because that's a good one. So the conversation between Hannah and Jed's mom was extremely uncomfortable. Props to Hannah for staying tough throughout the whole thing, because I think I might have started crying. She was just staring. She was staring at Hannah through those long bangs of her, just trying to like tear her apart. Seems like the women in his life just don't support this relationship in general. Unless they edited it some way, his sister doesn't support it. They're just like all for Jed's music and don't want him getting distracted by anything at all. Didn't really get his dad's perspective, besides that Hannah's a hoot. I mean, he was concerned about the music too, but Jed, I feel, kind of reassured him at least, but the girls were not having it. But you know, they're actually probably just really shocked that he actually likes the girl that he's been using to propel his music. This was a tough family. I mean, they're definitely very protective, so that's understandable. But this is also like the first meeting with someone who could potentially be your daughter-in-law. I mean, there's got to be like a line, I guess, somewhere down the middle of being protective and being welcoming. And I think they were a little bit too far on the protective side, compared to the other 3 families who were so gracious and welcoming and just like made it clear that they loved having her there. That's got to be real tough on Hannah. I mean, I don't want to say Jed's family wasn't loving. They may be, but last night they were a little abrasive. And then comes the rose ceremony. This was the most dramatic part of the whole episode. The most dramatic rose ceremony ever. First of all, another side note, Hannah's INGs end with a K. Like, I'm having a tough time. Doesn't happen all the time. I wonder if she's got like congestion. Something is stuck back there. Still love you, Hannah, but just wanted to mention it. Okay. Now, does anybody else get just a really happy feeling when they see Chris Harrison? He just has this presence about him that just makes you smile. So Hannah is talking to Chris before she goes out there and tells him essentially that she doesn't know what she's going to do and that she's just trusting that when she walks out, she's just going to do a quick glance over the guys and know what her decision should be. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. She starts handing out roses. Peter gets the first rose, and he was honestly my first choice for going home. I didn't think he was going to get one. Number one, he didn't get any previews of the fantasy suites, I don't think. And he's also kind of, there's no like, Peter, you know? But then if it wasn't Peter, I expected it honestly to be Tyler. But then Tyler gets rose number 2. And now I'm officially just bewildered because you've seen fantasy suite previews with both Luke and Jed. So what's going on here? Then she walks away. And I am crying inside for both Jed and Luke. I felt so bad. My gut instinct was telling me she's just not going to get rid of either of them. She's not going to be able to. After what just happened with Luke, there's no way she'll get rid of him. She just said she loved him. And then we've got Jed over here, who she also said she's falling in love with. So I'm like, okay, she's probably keeping all of them. And then Chris Harrison walks out, and he is trying hard to hold back that smile. He's got a hand behind his back and says, Hannah, those 2 roses you asked for? And now everyone's going to fantasy suites, which Hannah tells Chris that the 4 relationships she had, they weren't done yet. They weren't finished. Is that because you felt like you needed to have a fantasy suite with all 4 guys, Hannah? Tell the truth. I mean, I can't leave here before I address Tyler talking bad about Luke again. I just think it's petty and it's annoying, and it's just stop. Have a little respect, not only for Luke, but for Hannah. You know, Hannah obviously cares about this relationship she has with him. You need to just eventually just stop talking. You can support Jed 100% and be like, hey, you know, hopefully she chooses the best person for her. You don't need to be like, oh, this guy sucks, you know, she's an idiot if she doesn't choose you, man. I mean, Luke is standing there by himself causing no trouble whatsoever. Can you just let it be for once? And it's like, Tyler, you just gained some steps back. Do you want to go backwards again? But at the very end, when Jed's talking about how he doesn't feel like he actually got a rose, I understand his frustration. I would feel the same. She obviously had confidence that she wanted Tyler and she wanted Peter, and it was down to Luke and Jed. She was like, well, if I have to get rid of somebody, it's going to be one of these 2. I would be really upset about that too. Aside from that, the previews were basically just all about Luke being a jerk. I'm really excited to see how that conversation plays out because she gets really mad. So he was clearly way out of place with whatever he says. And then does she really give him the finger like, get out, I never want to see you again? Or is it like, you need to leave, I need to take some time to myself away from you? But she doesn't send him home. I don't know. But thanks again, you guys, for watching this week, and we will see you next week for Fantasy Suites.